Hi guys, welcome to our session today. So we've got a few games for you today. We're going to start off with a Mr. Stand and Mr. Sit game.
All right then, it's time for our first game, which is a story game. So every time you hear the word stand, you've got to stand up, and every time you hear the word sit, you've got to sit down. So listen carefully because some of these words will appear in longer words. All right then. Mr. Stand and Mr. Sit were long-standing friends. They had known each other since they had been at school together in Sittingbourne. Now Mr. Stand lived in Sitwell and Mr. Sit lived near East Standing. Mr. Sit was a stand-up comedian. While sitting at a desk all day had made Mr. Stand feel like life was slipping him by. Earlier in the year, however, a situation had arisen which meant that Mr. Stand and Mr. Sit were no longer friends and had stopped talking to each other. Mr. Stand had accused Mr. Sit of not returning a lawnmower that he had lent him quite a long time ago. Mr. Stand said that his sit-on lawnmower had not been given back, and he couldn't understand why Mr. Sit was being stand-offish about it all. Mr. Sit said there must be some misunderstanding and insisted that he had indeed returned the sit-on lawnmower some time ago to Mr. Stand, and that he'd seen him sitting on it the last time Mrs. Stand had invited Mrs. Sit and himself to dinner a few months ago. But Mr. Stand was adamant and wouldn't budge in the matter. Mr. Sit was very angry at himself and he wouldn't stand down. He decided to sit tight and not to be drawn into the argument. The months passed and the situation remained dire until something that happened that made Mr. Stand sit up and take notice. His neighbour, who had moved in the year before, was out in the garden mowing his rather large lawn. Mr. Stand looked over at the fence and saw his neighbour on a sit-on lawnmower that looked very much like his own. Of course, thought Mr. Stand. I remember now. After Mr. Sit gave me back the lawnmower, I lent it to my new neighbour. Oh dear, I'm going to have to stand down and apologise to Mr. Sit. What a huge misunderstanding. So he called Mr. Sit the next day, and after Mr. Stand had explained the situation, they had a good laugh and they were the best of friends again. Mrs. Stand and Mrs. Sit were extremely pleased as well, especially because they couldn't understand how the situation had got so out of hand in the first place. The end.
Okay guys, so we're going to go on to our next game now. It's a bit like a scavenger hunt, except for it's got a little twist on it. So I'm going to say something like, go and get something that you'd put in your hair. So for example, if I had a hair bubble and you got a hair bubble, you'd get 2 points. And if I had a hair bubble but you brought a hairbrush, you'd get 1 point. Does everybody understand? Great stuff. Okay, so first of all, if everyone would like to go get something that you wear. Okay, so what do you have? I have a pair of socks.
I've got a t-shirt.
Mark yourself whether you get 1 or 2 points there. Next, we need to go find something soft. What do you have? I have a soft, cuddly toy. If you have a soft, cuddly toy, give yourself 2 points, and if not, 1 point. Next, we're going to go and get something that you eat with. What have you got? I've got a spoon. If you have a spoon, big or small, give yourself 2 points. If not, 1 point. Next, we're back to the kitchen to find something healthy to eat. What have you bought? Have you bought an apple, a pear, an orange, maybe some vegetable? I have a banana. If you have a banana, give yourself 2 points. If not, 1 point. And then we're going to go and find something now that you may use every single day at the moment. What do you have? I have hand soap, very important nowadays. Next, if you go find something that you drink, what do you have? I have some lovely squash. And that is it. So if you tally up your points, whether you have 2 points or 1 point for each item, we'd love to know what your score is. Thank you. Okay, so we also have another little game that you can do at home. So it's called Scattergories, and I'm going to give you 4 different categories where we'd like you to try and find 5 different things that begin with the letter. So in the first one, we have boy's name, girl's name, things in the kitchen, things outside. And we'd like you to try and find 5 things beginning with the letter C. Okay, and then afterwards, you can always see if you can find 5 famous people, 5 places, 5 animals, and 5 different types of food, all starting with the letter A. We'd love to know what you come up with. Thank you.
All right, everyone, we hope you enjoyed playing our games today. And if you have any good examples of any games, share them on our Facebook page or share them with your friends, and we'd love to see what you come up with. And thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.